Hello and welcome back to the Star Wars Lego Millennium Falcon Mega Build. I always forget what it's called. You've learned this by now. It's the words Lego, Star Wars and Millennium Falcon all get jumbled up into the words Millegalon, which gets us nowhere. So we're on page 391. We're not on the home stretch yet. There's still two more sets of bags to open. But we're getting there. I've got this. And obviously I left it... here, I'm on this bit, this step here. Okay. That's good. I can get into it. As you can tell by the extremely comfortable looking hoodie I'm wearing, it's essentially winter now. It has become cold, very cold. And contrary to the normal system, I've just eaten. So I am entirely content. If anything, I'm in that sort of, that post-food, or I've eaten not too much, but just a step too much. I'm not hungry for more, but I'm also not like a beached whale. I'm just slightly overfull. That's how I would describe myself. The sort of situation where it can go either way, where you could just go and be really productive for the day, or you just sort of sit on the sofa and you don't even, like, you sit on the sofa but you can't be asked to, like, I don't know, watch a TV series or a film that you've been meaning to watch, or play a game. You put on some trashy daytime TV and you look at your phone on something not important. And hours later you think, what have I done with the day? This was a waste. That's where I'm at. I'm actually trying this new thing. I think this is something that every man goes through at some point in their life. Normally, it will happen maybe 6 months after they live on their own for the first time, where I'm I'm experimenting with meal replacement concepts. Is it? I use the term milkshake. What I've got this. It's called Huel, human fuel. Huel. It's a terrible name. It's a clever name, but it's terrible. Is the trouble. It's what I use as like a meal replacement, because that's very much what it is. And it's I refer to it as a milkshake, even though you don't use milk to make it. It's just once it is made, it looks most like a milkshake. It's the sort of thing where you'd call it a shake, and people would say, "Oh, is it a milkshake?" Yeah, no, it just has the thickness and consistency commonly associated with a milkshake, but no actual milk. It's I'll be honest, it's actually really nice. I greatly enjoy it. It's vanilla flavour, and which is the ideal flavour because it's very hard to get bored of vanilla. It's nice, but not too nice, you know. There we are. I've been trying to do that, but basically, if I can't be asked to cook, which is common, I try and have that as just as a way. Because the thing is, when I cook, I'm a lavish cook. I cook delicious things with lots of salt and oil in them, and it's just it's not good. It kills you. So that's my new thing. I'm trying that. It's odd because you just have you have a tall glass of this shake powder, and you drink it. It's nice. You sort of almost can't stop drinking it as you do. Like drinking a milkshake, in fact. The only thing that slows you down with a milkshake is the cold aspect if it's got ice cream in it. Without that, you can just cannonball it. But you drink it and it's nice. It's very filling but not satisfying, which is very odd because if you've not had that sort of thing before, quite often if you have a meal that's very filling, such as, I don't know, pizza, pasta, heavy carb stuff, a big bowl of chips or potato fries, that's a meal that is both filling and satisfying. A big bowl of salad is neither filling nor satisfying. Whereas this stuff, you eat it, it fills you up, but it doesn't overly satisfy you. It's like you've got all the down here necessities for food taken care of, but your mouth, you don't chew anything. I think that's what it is, and it sort of confuses the body initially. It's like the second you finish, you'll think, right, I want some more now. I want a bit of steak, and you give it 10 minutes, and you're like, I couldn't eat a bite. I'm totally full. And then 6 hours later, you'll be hungry again. Ah, fuck. I was just going on really well, and I ripped the whole thing in half. Which is actually the plot of Alien, I think. Oh, well, that's a real bitch. I've just made this. I got to the end, and then, like a bastard move, it was put this little beige thing on the bottom. That was it, last step. Then it says make 2. So I've got to make one of these again. Oh, I see where this goes. It goes on the end here. Like that. Oh, yeah. See, now that I see that, I can see there's clearly a big space where it should go there. Well, I'll make the second one before I try and attach those. Alright. Saw a good film the other day. I saw 3 films over the weekend since it's Thursday now. I saw 3 films last weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It was great, you know. Real good routine. So first of all, I saw The House with the Clock in Its Walls. Terrible name. The film, it was okay, not great. Like, it was weirdly, it was lacking sort of any big set pieces. Was probably my main issue with it. If you've seen the trailers for it, there's a bit where they're fighting pumpkins, like, you know, CGI animated pumpkins attacking them, and like you think, okay, so that scene there, well, that's probably like the sort of the mid film set piece, if you will, and then later on there'll be like the climactic battle, if you will. And that was like my assumption going in. And then like you watch the film, and like straight away Jack Black's character is a warlock. Like that's not really hidden, and the kid finds out about it in fairly quick time. And like, you know, then he goes, "Will you train me as a warlock?" And Jack Black reluctantly goes, "Yeah, sure." And thus cue the the Harry Potter-esque wizardry of the thing. And it's really debatable like how good at magic the kid is, because there's a point where he's trying to do a spell and it just doesn't work at all. And they're trying to console him. They're like, yeah, you know, it takes time to figure out like what your style of magic is, how it will work for you, and you know how to make it happen. What they don't ever do is describe. There's 3 wizards in the film. There's Jack Black. I want to say it's Cate Blanchett, but I can never remember her name. And the kid. So there's a warlock, a witch, and the boy. They say, yeah, each wizard has their own style of magic. You know, their own sort of way of making it happen. They never explain what like the other 2 characters are. There was like a perfect opening to go for Jack Black to say, "Here's mine," but he doesn't do it. It's like, yeah, everyone's got to find their own way. We're not going to help you at all, though. Good luck. And the same with the witch. She never has it either. Okay, what do I need? That's nearly got all the bits for this stage. Okay, so that goes sideways. Yep. Yeah, so they. And like that bit where they're fighting the pumpkins, it's an incredibly short scene. Like nearly all of it is in the trailer. And then they pretty much they go into the climactic battle after that, but there really isn't one. It's just it's like over very fast. It's odd. There's a bit where Cate Blanchett's character, I'm saying that and I'm convinced it's someone else playing the role. There's a bit where the witch, like, they're all going down into the dungeon to find actually find the clock that is in the walls. And as they're climbing down the ladder, she's the last to go down. She gets attacked by a giant snake / hydra monster. And she goes, yeah, go on without me, I'll be fine. They go and have their confrontation, and they come back, and she's just got a tiny snake at that point. And it's like, could we not have seen that? That big set piece of her fighting a snake? That might have been quite good. Just, it felt like they had to cut out some scenes, and the scenes they cut out, like, presumably for time or something, were the big action scenes. Because it lacked them. What I did like about it, though, and I've become a sucker for this, it was set in the 50s, and I love a period setting, particularly anything post-World War II and I'd say 1980, but I can probably extend that to the 90s. Anything that's not like overly contemporary, except I would say. I just love a period setting in general. Old cars, old technology. It's just great. There's a bit where they go to a malt shop. What the hell is malt? I don't know, but they go there. So it was okay. It wasn't great, but it wasn't like actively bad. There's a lot of films that come along in that sort of vibe, and it's not good. I'm told A Wrinkle in Time wasn't good. It's a harrowing noise to hear at night, whereas in the daytime you hear it and you think, oh, that's just a wheelie bin going by. Or the mic didn't pick it up and I'm just going insane. It would appear I'm insane. An okay film. It was better than Peter Pan, one of the last kids' films I've seen of that sort of ilk, like live action kids film with a sort of fantasy setting. I suppose that's the combination of things, isn't it? It's not Harry Potter by any means. A little bit reminiscent of another one, the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar. That's the word they use. I had curious in my head, and I knew that wasn't right. Peculiar Children, I think is what they call it in that. I need one more of these little flat bits. Must be on here. I think the weirdest bit about it was directed by Eli Roth as well. I must admit, I like Jack Black. I'll happily watch him in anything. Alright, I remember this bit. I have to put these on here in a specific fashion, and it's sort of mirrored. So that was the first film I watched. Second film I watched was Night School, the new Kevin Hart comedy. And I like Kevin Hart, I thought. But I think what I've actually discovered is I like Kevin Hart, but probably not in Kevin Hart-centric films. If you know what I mean. Because this film was not good. It was a comedy. I thought it should have a few laughs in it. I like Kevin Hart. A few of the other people in it. It had John Ralphio, Ben Schwartz, I think his name is, from Parks and Rec. He's very funny. Also, it's called Ben, so got that going for him. But it just wasn't a great film. The story was a little bit all over the place, and it just wasn't overly funny. Was the trouble? It didn't have a lot of like decent jokes in it, and I saw it in, I think it was almost the opening night, Saturday night, at like about a 9 o'clock showing. So the people in there were the people who had they just had dinner, they were in here ready for laugh, or they're the people they've come to this movie, they're watching this, and then they're gonna go and hit the rave scene afterwards. These were young, energetic people who are up for it, and it wasn't getting big laughs as a film. Which was a shame because I was hoping for a good comedy, but it was lackluster. Kind of reminds me of when you see like, if like Will Ferrell or someone has a film come out, or like you'll hear about it and then it won't come out and it will suddenly be on like Netflix. This only really applies if you're outside of America, I feel. And you'll think, oh, that's weird, did I miss that at the cinema? And then you find out, oh, it just wasn't very good, so it didn't make an international release, but it's on streaming here. I'll say Will Ferrell's not a great choice for that because he's kind of a little bit too big for that, but sort of, if you go for a lower rank of comedic star, I'm trying to think who. I'd want to say Paul Rudd, but I really like Paul Rudd, and he doesn't do comedies anymore so much. He does Ant-Man, doesn't he? So he doesn't count. I'll think of a level of comedic actor for that in a minute, without being racist as well. That's key, isn't it? So really, not a huge amount to say about Night School. It's no Game Night, let's put it that way. But Game Night was great. That was just came out of nowhere, was just a very competent comedy. And then I was really annoyed because everyone kept saying the same thing about Blockers, the film that came later. It was like, oh yeah, it's a good comedy, it's worth watching. And I was like, but the trailers look dog shit. And I went and saw the film. I was like, this is dog shit. This is rubbish. I've been conned. You all have been charmed by John Cena. He wasn't very good in it. And I normally like him in things. He was good in Daddy's Home 2, the one that he was actually in. He was good in Trainwreck, a terrible film. It had 2 good parts in it, him and Daniel Radcliffe, who wasn't technically in the film. That'll be one of those like trick questions in years to come. Which of these is the real Daniel Radcliffe film? And they'll describe like Swiss Army Man, like the bit in Trainwreck where he just plays a dog walker. I think the film is called The Dog Walker. It just looked terrible. Yeah. So Night School, not great. What I particularly love about the idea of this being film reviews is these films, like by the time this comes out, most of these films aren't even on anymore. So it's just retrospective. And they're useless as reviews because there's normally some spoilers going on in there. Doesn't tell you too much about them. I get most of the actors wrong. Third and final film I saw, actually the best of the lot, and I'm glad I saw it last. And I wasn't even going to see it to begin with. I watched A Simple Favor, which was a weird film because like the trailer for it starts out as like a comedy trailer, and like, I don't know, a third in, halfway through, it switches to being like a Gone Girl-esque thriller trailer. And I saw that and I was like, I'm not interested in that. I don't give a shit about these weird thriller films where it's like you're following one character's point of view and it's like something bad happens and they're clearly innocent and suddenly everyone's like, well, you did it, you're the evil one. You're like, yeah, they're not though. There's no doubt. There needs to be doubt. Like in the hit film with Philip Seymour Hoffman. Doubt. Yeah, so I saw the trailers and I wasn't interested. Then I heard the reviews and a lot of people were saying, is Paul... Now I've got to remember this because Kevin Feige is the one from Marvel and Paul Feig is the one I'm thinking of. But their names are spelt kind of similar and there's an ambiguity to how you might pronounce them. It's produced by him and he made Bridesmaids and Spy, which are 2 great comedies. Got that. And the reviewers all said, yeah, it's a weird film. If you go in expecting a thriller, you won't like it. If you go in expecting a comedy, you will like it. And I was like, oh, well, the reason I wasn't going to watch it was because I thought it'd be just a thriller. I was like, I don't give a shit. So now I ended up going in, and it was good. It was really fun. Anna Kendrick in it is like, she's like adorable. She plays a YouTube. What's it? I don't like to say it, a mummy blogger. Doesn't work saying that in an English accent. In America, it works fine, but I feel saying it aloud in English, it doesn't sound right, does it? Yeah, she plays a blogger, and it's just a good film. There was one slightly iffy bit at the end where they did that film where they did that thing in films where they did like white text on a black background saying this is what the characters went on to do afterwards, and it's weird because like it makes me, it was like trying to play it off as like this is all real events, and I was watching it, I was like, was this actually real? Is this based on true events? And then like in the next one I was like, no, I definitely know that if that were the case. I was like, I've never heard any of this. This can't be real. But I'm still not actually sure, and I will never look it up. Right, now I need to attach this. Yep. It was a good film because it was almost like a parody thriller, but like in the old style of parody, like Naked Gun or Airplane. Not so much Naked Gun, but Airplane, let's say, where it is a parody, but a lot of it is like it's done straight. It's not like sort of self-aware, if you know what I mean. It's like there's a bit where she's running away from someone like in a car, and she gets cut off, and he comes and knocks on the door, and you think, oh, he's going to do something mental, but actually he does something funny. But it's not like, there's no laugh track, if you know what I mean. Obviously there wouldn't be anyway, but sometimes it feels like there could be. And it stars like my new favourite actor, whose name escapes me, but he's been in these two. He was in this. He's the I want to say he's Chinese, but I don't really know. He's got a fantastic English accent, and he was in Crazy Rich Asians. The only reason I assume he's Chinese because he was in that. The English accent makes me think he's probably British. Right, where is it? I'd love to see him as James Bond. It's weird, like the topic of James Bond comes up, and a lot of people say Idris Elba, and a lot of people in another breath say, I don't know if I could see a James Bond, a black James Bond is what I meant to say, but also a lot of people couldn't see a blonde one when Daniel Craig was announced. The funny thing is, like when that debate comes up, in my mind, all I ever think is, I've got nothing against seeing a black James Bond. I can't really see Idris Elba as James Bond. And at the same time, I was like, yeah, I don't know if I could see a black James Bond or a woman James Bond, but I could easily see a Chinese James Bond. That would be fine. And I don't know what that says about me. So if you had one of those like alignment graphs they do, where it's like, I don't know, you get 4 quadrants. It'd be like, well, there's a racist scale down the bottom, but there's a xenophobia scale on the y-axis, and like most racists are up here, but weirdly you're over here. You're still in the racist camp, but different. It's that's what's going on there. So 3 pretty good films, all things considering. Wait, no, scratch that. House of the Clock and Its Walls was, it was okay. I probably wouldn't watch it again, but if like anyone was saying about should they watch it, I'd say yeah, it's probably worth a watch. It's not offensive in any way. It's not outright bad. I'd actually almost like to see a sequel, to be honest. I feel like, I don't know if there are sequel books in the series. I assume it's based on a book, because only a book could have a title that bad. I could happily watch a sequel. Felt like the stuff they set up is like, all right, this is fine now, but the sequel will be better. Give me some proper magic. That's one of the bits I need, and immediately I see all the others. Okay, that's good. I nearly skipped ahead to another step. Which makes me... Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for this. Yeah. Clock and Its Walls, mediocre. Night School, I'd say, was probably actively bad. Worth watching if you got literally nothing else to watch. But to be honest, I think the thing is, if you want comedy, there's no point really looking at films most of the time. TV shows are just better at it now. It's a fact. I don't know when it happened or what caused it, or if it's always been the case. I don't know. All right. How am I doing here? I think I'm doing this correctly. Nope. I lack the ability to read ahead in any usable fashion. The other thing that has been entirely consuming me at the minute is I'm playing the God of War 4, I guess, the one on PS4, the newest one. Bloody brilliant. Who knew? Everyone, apparently. But it's great. I love it. I'm terrible at the combat, which it's one of those things where like the combat is very much skill based. I suppose hack and slash would be like sort of the technical way to describe it, but something's not fitting on correctly here. Oh Christ. Well, that shot out about 1,000,000 miles an hour. I should pick it up, but I'm like 90% certain there'll be spares of that, so I'm just going to take another one. Yeah, so the combat in God of War, I like it. It's skill based. It's akin to, I don't want to say Dark Souls, but you know, Dark Souls. It's not like super fast. It's more about blocking and countering, and there's a number of different options when you come into a fight, and it's knowing like what to do in a given situation. You know, do you go in barehanded? Do you go in wolf-handed? These are the choices. So a little animal-based pun there because I don't want to give anything away. Spoilers: you do end up getting swords on blades at some point. It's God of War after all. That should come as no real surprise. But I'm really digging it. I particularly like the way it's laid out. The kid in it is great. Having him as a companion really makes it fun. And like, there's a whole big thing in it. You're going around. You got your kid Atreus. I want to say his name is. I don't think Kratos ever says his name. And Kratos, I'm pretty sure is his dad. There's a bit of ambiguity as to whether or not he's adopted or not. I think he's his dad. And I'm just spending like a good portion of the game thinking, I really hope at least by the end of this game he either hugs his son or like gives him any kind of praise. Like he very rarely does. It just every now and again, like the kid will do something good, like he'll translate a word that will get them out of trouble or something like that. And it's like, okay, good. You've now just go one step further as a father, give him a little bit of praise, and he just doesn't. And it's like, you've got to do this by the end of the game. Please don't leave me hanging here. Does it say more about my own issues than the game's issues? I don't know. Huh, why isn't this thing? Oh, bastard. Put pressure on the wrong place. Which went to shit. I currently love everything about the way the game is laid out. The only thing I don't like, he says, in a moment of controversy, is because the combat system's the way it is. So in theory, like, even though in theory, you come up against an enemy, and if you're skillful enough, you should be able to beat the enemy. Like, even if like they're like normally that's how it would be in a game like that. Trying to think what I can compare it to, RPG wise. Monster Hunter would be a good example. In Monster Hunter, if you come up against a monster that you've never fought before, and it's sort of way stronger than what you're used to. The fear is they might one hit kill you, but it's entirely possible to dodge every hit. That's doable. You don't need to go and upgrade your armor to do it. Your weapons, it may take longer to kill that monster, but you can do it. So that works there. Whereas in God of War, there's your skill, and in principle you could be able to kill an enemy that's stronger than you. But if you do come against some enemies that are really strong, they can one hit kill you. And on top of that, it's like they sort of like attacks that would flinch some enemies won't flinch them, and like they won't get stunned in the same way as others. So it's a little bit biased in that direction. So sometimes you'll come across an enemy and you'll think, I can probably beat this, and then like there'll be some bullshit. And it seems to not be great at telling you these numbers. Like you'll sometimes come across an enemy and it'll be one level higher than you, and it'll just mop the floor with you. Then other times you'll come across an enemy that will be like multiple levels higher than you, and you'll kill it, and you think, well, that was easy. I think that's more on me than anything else. And honestly, I think it's the game's way of saying, you shouldn't be here. You can try and explore, but it's dangerous. Which is something they did in Borderlands 1. They specifically, like, right next to the starting area. I can't remember what his name was. It's something like Bone Crusher. There was just a really strong enemy that if you went to fight him, you'd die over and over. And it was literally there to teach you in the game. It's like, yeah, the level matters. If they're more than like 3 or 4 above, let's say 5 above you, you'll die. And there's no point killing them because you might get more experience, but the items they drop you can't use anyway. So don't bother. Go and do something for your level. The other thing I particularly like is they clearly took the kind of power leveling system from Destiny, whereby instead of having like individual stats for like your level, your attack, your defense, your magic attack, your magic defense, speed, all that sort of thing, they've kind of combined it into one. So you still have those individual stats, but your level is essentially the total of all of those, to sort of give you a rough indication of like your power rating, which is actually a really good system. And it actually works in this game. It doesn't really work in Destiny 2 because for whatever reason they decided that in that armor just won't do anything. It's just purely cosmetic. Armor makes no difference at all. It doesn't affect your defense or anything like that. It's odd. It's one of the reasons I don't particularly like Destiny. It's a game all about sort of loot drops and stuff, and it's nearly all the same. In Borderlands, all the guns were different. In Destiny, they're all roughly the same. This is Destiny 2 I'm talking about. And the classic rant of why Destiny sucks and you shouldn't play it. My decision after 80 hours. Okay. I've got rough working memories of how to build this from the last time I built it, like, last episodes. That's why it's going nice and smooth, this. Also, another huge pro for God of War. Norse mythology. It's just better than Greek mythology. I'm a big fan of both mythologies, but Norse is a mythology of warriors, which makes for a far more compelling action game, I feel. My only concern is that I've heard, like, word on the street. It's like, oh yeah, they're probably going to do expansions, or definitely a sequel still set in Norse mythology. So I'm thinking, well, that means we're probably not going to get a full, complete story in this game. Which makes sense, because every other God of War normally ends on a weird cliffhanger, or you'll do something and then the next game will immediately undo it. I'm sure you become the God of War in the first game. You start off as the God of War in the second game, and in the first level, they're like, Yeah, fuck you. You're too good as the God of War. You're out. Something that actually does annoy me about all God of War in general, and it feels particularly more prevalent in this one because it's kind of more grounded. And that, part of that comes down to this thing where they've made it so there's no cuts in the action. Like, it's all sort of, it never cuts away. It'd be the film equivalent of doing everything in one take, like the whole film, the whole game, which is great. But it means like to get anywhere, you either have to walk there or take a boat there in real time. So it humanizes the whole experience, is what I'm saying. So Kratos' like level of strength is all over the place. I can understand that it's kind of based on like his anger, and if he gets like real angry, he can do more impressive feats. Which is why like when you come against a boss, you might fight like a dragon the size of a mountain. More common in the older games when you'd fight titans and stuff, and it'd be like you're fighting them, and like you've got the strength to like, you know, rip their arms off or whatever, and then you come to the other bit of the game, and like you're fighting a skeleton, and they can parry or block your attacks, and it's like his strength's sort of all over the place, isn't it? There's a slight lack of consistency. I'm not actually going to put these on now. I'm going to keep building because I don't want to get up. I immediately regret this decision looking at what I have to do next. And one thing that does bug me is that a lot of the exploration is, I would say, Uncharted inspired, or possibly Tomb Raider inspired, but I don't know old Tomb Raider well enough. Where like you're climbing on walls and shit, and for some reason this really annoys me. Like the walls you can climb with, and like any ledges you can jump up and grab, they're always marked by like this white rune. And I know it's a gameplay thing where they have to be able to show you in some way, otherwise you'll get really pissed off because you won't be able to see. But at the same time, it's like it takes you out of it a little bit, and there's not really any way around it other than doing the Breath of the Wild thing, which is, yeah, we don't have to mark what things you can climb because you can climb everything. Is this recording? Yes, it's recording. I've got all the components now to assemble them into a shape reminiscent of something. Yep, there we are. Yeah, so that's how you get around, like by climbing and shit, which is fine, except like the most you can jump, say vertically up, is, assuming Kratos is 6 foot tall, which is reasonable. The most you can jump is like maybe 5 feet, I'd say. It's not very high at all. And like crossing a gap, again, you can jump what looks to be about a normal amount for an in-shape human. And then later on, like he'll push a rock the size of a house with a fair amount of ease. Like, he doesn't get a run up to do it. And I would just watch it, and I'm like, okay, but he couldn't jump across that gap. I had to move a box on wheels for him. And I know it's the difference between like gameplay and sort of cutscene, and so you got to have some limits. But at the same time, I'm thinking, really, he couldn't have climbed that. There's another weird thing as well. Like sometimes in the game, you lose, like, there'll be a rope and you can slide down it like a zip line sort of thing. Like you hold your axe above it and you slide down. That's fine. He can go down like that. But if there's that same rope, he can't climb up it. Or if it's flat, he can't climb across it. And I saw it and I was like, I could do that, motherfucker. Like, you're not balancing on a tightrope walking across. You're like, you wrap your legs around. You do like in The Simpsons. You do this maneuver. You get across. That works on the flat easily enough, and it's certainly doable to go up given his level of inhuman strength. That's very pleasing to the eye, that thing I just made. You can't see it, but trust me, it is. Oh, I see. Right. Wait, where's this go? In the drive room. On top of that. So this corner matches up to here. Okay, it's really hard to add stuff now because there's nothing to safely grip. And as far as I can tell, this just... Oh no, it does. It clips on. Oh, it clips on and it clicks around. I think there'll be like a satellite dish sort of thing, a radar dish that will clip onto this and turn in a clicky fashion. Let's make a kind of a fin next. And what I'm particularly liking about the Norse setting is that my knowledge of Norse mythology is odd in that parts of it come from like Marvel Comics, where you got the Norse gods in that, where, you know, some of it is based on like the proper myths and legends, some of it's just based on, you know, whatever. So it's a little bit... It's weird because like myths aren't true anyway. There's no consistency between the stories that people have. So to add that into the mix gives you a kind of a rough idea of things that happen. And then on top of that, of like the Norse gods, they just tend to pop up in fiction quite often because they're a fun, rowdy bunch, aren't they? So I've got like mixed versions of a lot of various stories and histories. So sometimes when stuff comes up, I'm like, oh yeah, the Valkyrie, yeah, they shepherd the souls to Asgard or whatever to be judged. That's fine, yeah. And then other times it'll be like, Balder, who the fuck's that? It's a nice mix of knowing stuff and not knowing stuff. And probably my favourite moment in the game when you're in like a place that the giants have built, and you're going through the tunnel, and Kratos just goes, how would a giant fit through this tunnel? And his son laughs at him. And he's like, why do you laugh, boy? And the kid goes, well, they're just called giants. They weren't actually giant. And it's like a moment of revelation that you're like, huh, okay then. And it's it might be my favourite moment of the game. And on that note, I would actually like to see... I don't know. I don't know if I've made this up or if there's actually... I don't think there's a New Game Plus mode. I think they were thinking about releasing that afterwards. This would be so much work for them to do. But if they could add in like the option to do New Game Plus as either a sassier Kratos or a more sarcastic Kratos, I would love that. Like, I'm sure it would get old fast, but there are so many moments in that game where you just want Kratos to make like a really dumb dad joke or just like it's so ripe for dumb humor and jokes in there. Okay, so this is an interesting thing that's occurred here. I think I've got this in the wrong place. Very little holding all of this on. I suspect that's about to change shortly. There we are. That's good. Where the fuck? Under there. Nice. Started watching a new anime last night. I've made some terrible decisions. I've ended up in a state where I'm watching My Hero Academia week to week. which is a great show, don't get me wrong. It's just a pain in the arse watching things week to week, isn't it? I normally have the fortitude to wait until a season is complete and do it then. Or the ideal thing is like you wait until the season is almost complete, you start, and then you catch up, and there's like 2 episodes or 1 episode left of the season. That's the ideal. And then you just wait for that one. So you get all the joys of sort of anticipating and talking about it online with people, but none of the hassle of waiting. But I haven't done that, so I'm sort of up to date with that. And then I made the stupid mistake of doing the same thing with Attack on Titan Season 2. Which, Christ, that season had a bit of a rough start. In that, I can see what's happened, I'm assuming, in the manga, where the manga starts off with Eren Yeager as kind of the main character, and then there's like this whole arc where he very much isn't. And like, from a manga point of view, that's fine, but from an anime point of view, it's like, I mean, the fans like these characters, and then we're not going to show them for a whole arc, and like on top of that, it's like there's a whole arc where they're not really fighting any titans, and it's like, it's kind of the bread and butter of the series. And I'll be honest, they came up with a new theme tune for season 3. It's shit. It does not fit in at all. Especially considering like sort of how epic the other theme tunes have been. And the worst part of it, it's like it's written by the same people, the same group or whatever that did the first one. All right, I actually picked up the same bit several times there to put on. And my trouble with Attack on Titan, and this is a trouble that only really lazy people have, and it's easily remedied, is it's so long between seasons. And it's a very complicated show with a lot going on normally. And I can never remember what's happening. And I'd never bothered to like watch any kind of refreshers in any fashion, of which I'm sure there are hundreds online probably, like everything you need to know before watching Attack on Titan Season 2, Season 3, or Season 1 Part 2, or whatever it was. So I always spend the first few episodes of a season thinking, who are these people? The one that gets me the most is there's 2 female characters that they probably don't even look the same, but I keep mixing them up. There's the one who works for the Survey Corps, and she's like their kind of head researcher, and is very funny. I think she has glasses. I don't know any of their names. She's friends with Levi or Levi, I don't know. It's her, and the one who like was with the recruits, with the people you know and love, the girl who's sort of obsessed with food. And she gets a scene that has no follow-up, is where she steals some like meat from the officers' mess, and she's like, I'll hide it in here later, we can all have a bit, it'll be great. And then the colossal titan attacks, and it never goes anywhere. And I think she steals a potato. I think they might call her Potato Girl, actually. That might be a thing. Or I might have made that up. Anyway, those 2 characters, I put them next to each other, and I don't know why. My brain just refuses to tell the difference. I think it's the equivalent of why in the original Pokemon Red and Blue games, if you went and talked to the old man that would show you how to catch bugs and then like change your name or something, the game didn't have enough memory to do 2 things separately, so it would use this space to record this data, and that's why it would give you 99 or something else. It's a complicated thing. That's how I assume my mind is. It's like there's a lot going on in this show. We're gonna throw these 8 characters together. Yeah, I started watching a new one last night. I started watching, I think it's called Hanabado, something like that. It's it's a badminton-based anime. Which, if you're not aware, my life revolves around two things: playing video games and playing badminton. So obviously a badminton-based anime. As far as I'm aware, the first one, and to my knowledge, possibly one of the first bits of media, entertainment produced about badminton. There, like think of another sport like I don't know, American football. There's lots of films based around American football. The Longest Yard. The other one, The Longest Yard. I'm sure there's more than that. I don't really watch them. But most sports, big sports, will have something like that. For example, tennis has the hit film Wimbledon, starring Paul Bettany. I think he's in that anyway. I'm not really sure. I haven't seen it. Some trashy rom-com. I don't actually know if it's trashy. I just assume it is, given that it's a rom-com. And they're all a bit trashy, aren't they? Yeah, so, you know, an anime based around a sport that, one, I know a lot about, and two, like, I'm genuinely interested in. I was like, I could get on board with this. And I must admit, I started watching it, I was like, it's annoying because it's probably going to get quite good, I'm sure. But a lot of the badminton-based action early on, it is this really annoying thing where, like, the camera's too zoomed in, or like the shots are too close up. So you'll see the character playing the shot, and then it will cut to the other character like receiving the shot. And like from my point of view, I'm like, can you zoom out a bit? I just want to see the game here. You know, that's what I want to see. But part of me thinks maybe either that's too hard to animate, or it will look shit, or they're probably saving it for later on for, like, you know, this is like early on in a sports based anime that, you know, the matches don't really matter. The big ones will come later. We're giving you a taste now, but later on that's when you'll get the big stuff. I assume, because it's also the first sports based anime I've watched. Unless you can count Yu-Gi-Oh, which kind of, it's almost a sport. No, it's not really. Food Wars would be the debate. Like, you could almost count that in the sports based anime category. I feel, because, you know, the sport in question would be cooking, but they do kind of treat it like a sport. So it could. What? Oh, right. I see. It's just asking for multiple things in one step. That's all. That's fine. I've never been more angry than when I finished watching Food Wars after like 2 weeks. Really enjoyed it. One of my favourite animes. And I read like the first comment on the final episode, and it was someone saying, yeah, don't get your hopes up for anything soon. Like the next chapter of the manga's not even out yet, or like the next novel or whatever. It's like, it's going to be a while, and then it's going to be even longer before it's animated. So good luck there. And normally in those cases, you have two choices, two options. You don't choose it. Two things can happen. One is they just go ahead and finish the anime without the manga being finished, and sometimes it's good, but often it's not, because they just have a punt at what's going to happen. And normally, instead of like moving forward with new and interesting things, it will just be like more of the same, but to a conclusion. That's what they did with Full Metal Alchemist, which, if you watch the original Full Metal Alchemist anime, it's pretty good. And then at some point, the story just kind of stops going anywhere, kind of repeats itself for a while, and then at the end, he gets sent to like World War II England, and it's like the anime has no real conclusion. It's very odd, and you later learn that anime is concluded in a film or two, which I didn't watch, because I kind of like that series to start with, and then I got a bit bored of it. There's some good characters in there, and then I got a bit bored, honestly. There's a character called the Führer who turns out to be evil. I felt that was somewhat signposted by calling him the Führer. In the English dub, no doubt. No, not like just the sub, where it's like, probably means something different in Japan. It's the closest they could get. No. The Führer. Name some famous Führers in history. Go on, I'll wait. Get past Hitler. What do you get after that? I think that's done. 3, 4. And 2 little steppy jobs. See, a lot of people say like Brotherhood is better. And I feel like one day I may watch that, but at the same time, I don't want to see that girl turned into a dog again. That was just disturbing. Although Alexander Armstrong, he's probably one of the best characters in anime history, were it not for Roy Mustang. What a great character he was. I'm a state alchemist. Yeah. I'm good in fights and shit. Proceeds to win one fight in like the first episode, and after that he gets his ass handed to him in every fight. I'm sure of it. My memory is fuzzy on anything that happens in that show, though. It's a classic example of an anime I'm watching where I really enjoy it and then I sour on it, but I sort of force myself through it. Trying to think what else that's happened with. Not overly common. Overlord, I suppose, was a good one. I liked that at the start. And then it sort of went a bit weird. I need to keep watching that. It's part of my favourite genre of animes, which is, people stuck in video games. It's a good one. Yeah. Did I bring a drink with me? Nope. Damn it. Yeah, can't drink that. That will kill me. How's the time looking? Oh, we're nearly there anyway. I'll just try and attempt to finish this step I'm on. That'd be a nice stopping point. Yeah, an episode just flies by when the first time I take a breath from rambling, and it's 2 minutes before the end. On that note, my big job after this is I brought a new graphics card. I brought one of the 2080 Titans, whatever it's called. Just whatever the big new beast is. I brought one. It was being delivered today. And I checked on my phone and it said it's been delivered, and there's a signature of the person who got it. I'll make up a name because I don't want to give their actual name. It was signed for by a Miss Charles, just made up name, come out of nowhere. And I saw that, I was like, okay, no one in my household by that name, no one on my property by that name, don't know any of my neighbours by that name. However, I do recognise that name because sometimes we get sent post that is like, where I live is the last postal address in the village. So quite often the postman, if a letter's got nowhere else to go and they're being lazy, it's not my usual postman. It's normally the weekend postman that does this. I'll preface it. My regular postman's great. They'll normally just dump it here, and it'll be like, and that's where I've seen that name before. And we'll look at the address and we'll be like, okay, like 2 lines of this address are technically correct, but the other 2 point to this village that's over in a different county. So, like, you're this close on this aspect, but miles away here. And I'm thinking, if my graphics card has been delivered there, which is a very expensive piece of equipment and a very delicate piece of equipment, and I'm assuming, I brought direct from NVIDIA, so I'm assuming it's probably packaged fairly well. But, if that's just been dumped somewhere, it's one of those things. And to be honest, there's not really much I can do to track it down. I just have to kind of wait and see what happens. Oh. It's Suddenly an alarm goes off. I've just noticed something as well. I'm going to finish this step here I'm on. It's very important I do so because this step involves a sticker. I haven't applied a sticker in bloody ages. It's a really shitty sticker as well. I don't want to spoil it, so I'm going to spoil it. Okay, so that goes there, and it should be like that. Okay, good. And put that in. Right, where are the stickers? Here they are. I've actually got, so on the sticker sheet left, there's the one I'm about to put on. There's another one which is just 2 red triangles, and then the only one after that is the bit that goes on the nameplate that tells you some facts about it. This sticker is literally just a grey sticker with some blaster holes in it. But I'm going to make sure I get it the right way up, because it makes no difference. Funny enough, the one I'm putting it on, the Lego piece I attached that to, it had a flat grey area to it, which had been scratched a little bit. So it actually already looked like it had been damaged, which is purely coincidence, because I've used, even on this piece alone, I've used that other piece, a replica piece here that hasn't been scratched or damaged at all. But it's almost doubly so. There's a small amount of texturing on it, just to add to it. Okay, just leave that there. So this is going to become a large triangle at some point, and presumably going to cover over one of these areas. Probably this area, because over here, eventually the cockpit's going to have to be fit on, and I imagine there's probably some sort of rigid assembly to attach that to the chassis. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time for what's coming towards the end of this behemoth, aren't we? It's very exciting. I'll see you then.